Hello, and welcome to JTimes, where we uncover the Kabbalah take on Jewish issues and current events. With me, as always, is Dr. Michael Laitman. Hello, Dr. Laitman.
Hello, everyone.
We have a special show today. It's a show about Hanukkah, which is the festival that we're celebrating now. But it seems that the times are not very festive these days, both in Israel and in Europe, and in the U.S. In the U.S., there are dark clouds as well. So it's basically happening all over the world. And it seems like just as in the days of Hanukkah, we are moving into more and more tense times. We would like to get your point of view on that. But before we get into that, can you explain really, what is the meaning of this war between the Maccabees and the Greeks?
Yeah, today in 2015, we're practically undergoing the same states as the people of Israel went through back then, more than 2,000 years ago, where there were forces that wanted to separate the people, the nation, to divide it. And these forces, they came from abroad, from Greece, where there was the philosophy, which was completely based on individualism instead of connection, separation, each one with the development of his own ego, the exact philosophy that went hand in hand with the development of our world. Because our world's developing because the ego inside the person is developing, and inside a person's developing ego, he's constantly building a new world. And every time it's a more egoistic world. And as the Greeks started putting pressure on us, came the Maccabees and said that it's against our perception, against our people, against the very foundation upon which our nation is based on, because the people of Israel, it's not an ordinary nation that developed out of one family, suppose. But they came from ancient Babylon, where Abraham, our patriarch, saw that all of Babylon is turning into one great big problem. What we heard about as the Babylonian Tower, the Babylonian crisis, that people became so egoistic that they stopped understanding each other, which is called the confusion of tongues, where of course there was one language, but people stopped understanding each other. They were so distant from one another, so separated. And Abraham, who was one of the big priests in ancient Babylon, he discovered that the ego, which is constantly growing from day to day, from generation to generation in human society, is actually reaching such levels where it's unbearable, like it was back then in Babylon, because by that it wishes to specifically compel people to unite, to connect, to cause their unification. And Abraham, he made an announcement in Babylon, and many people came to him, and he collected a group of people that called themselves the people of Israel, and therefore the people of Israel to this day are not a people like the rest of the nations, but it is a people that grew out of a special ideology of connection. And as long as we were connected, since Babylon, throughout the entire history of the Egyptian exile and the first temple until the end of the second temple, we were more or less connected by love thy neighbor as thyself. This is what Abraham established as the code, the key of the nation. And the moment we fell from the level of love your neighbor as yourself, brotherly love, into unfounded hatred, the temple was destroyed and we went into exile. So the entire code of the people of Israel. When are we a people? When we're connected. If we're not connected between us, then again, we're dispersed like we were in Babylon before Abraham arranged us as a people.
So that's my question, really, because if the Maccabees were for unity, right? And the Greeks or the Hellenists or the Jews who were pro-Greek were for individualism. Okay? So they're divided. Why do they have to unite, to fight because of that? Why can't they just, part ways?
No, because that was the ideology by which the people of Israel lived by, where the connection of the people is the reason for all the good and the flourishment of the people, of the nation, and the separation of the people brings weakness until everything really falls apart. And maybe at first it doesn't look that way, but this is exactly what's happening in Israel today, that we exist and we're as if the people of Israel in the land of Israel within our borders, but we're neither a nation nor a country, because we're not connected according to our natural foundation, and therefore we don't know we exist. We don't know how do we exist. And also the nations of the world relate to us with anti-Semitism, which is ever growing, because they don't see that we're carrying out our role. The role of the people of Israel is to connect and also set an example for the world how to connect, because the world is truly needy of the connection, because we're in a world which is on the one hand as one village, like ancient Babylon was back then thousands of years ago, but we're not connected, and therefore we're plunging again into the world global crisis.
So, and if, say, part of the people of Israel were to unite and live in a certain city, say Petah Tikva, okay? So all the people who want to unite live in Petah Tikva. The rest of the Israelis who are not really Israel, or according to the law of unity, live everywhere else. Wouldn't that solve the problem?
No.
Why not?
It doesn't solve the problem, because according to the plan of creation, the plan of the world, we, through our connection, have to cause the connection of the people of Israel, and the people of Israel has to cause the connection of the world. That's called to be light onto the nations, and this is a role we can't escape. And this is why the whole world hates us, because were we to give them an example of how to be connected, united, the whole world would see it and drink from it, take forces and the method from it, and would calm themselves down by being connected. And this is what our world's lacking, because on the one hand, we exist in this one great big interconnection between us, all countries and nations, and on the other hand, we hate each other, and this way we can't exist together. It's like it was back then in ancient Babylon, the destruction of Babylon. This is what we have today, and therefore today is a very critical situation in the world. Will the people of Israel connect and set an example for the rest of the nations of how to connect, how to exist in a good and nice way in a global world?
So what you're saying is, first of all, that all the Israelis have no choice. They have to unite, whether they want to.
No, they don't. And it also says so in the Torah, that we're all responsible for each other. We have to be interconnected.
And if just some of the Israelis want to do it and the rest don't, it's not going to be good enough.
No, it's not enough. It's good for starters, but you immediately have to extend the boundaries of the connection.
It won't solve the problem of anti-Semitism, for example, if not all Jews are connected.
It will immediately start calming the situation down, but it won't get rid of the phenomena. The phenomena can stop and even invert into sympathy and love towards the people of Israel, on condition that we truly show the world an example of how to correct and connect together, by which we become like nature itself, global, integral, and then all of humanity rises to a new level where it lives in a good world.
Today, one of the most divisive points in the Jewish world, divisive issues in the Jewish world, is the state of Israel itself. The world questions the legitimacy of the state of Israel in general, but the Jews also question the policy, the conduct of the state of Israel. And because they, for political reasons or whatever, some Jews support Israel and some don't. Or at least that's what they say, that it's because of political reasons. So it seems that the place of unity has become a place of divisiveness.
That's true. That the place of connection where we thought that we'll build a nation and a country 70 years ago, and not even from the establishment of the State of Israel, but more than 100 years ago, since the first and the second Aliyah immigration to Israel. Of course, they thought about building something good, nice, strong, special, united here. And it doesn't work because we don't understand how to do it. We're not learning about it. We have a method, there's a plan, everything exists. This is how we're connected in the past, since the days of Abraham until the destruction of the temple for 1500 years. And therefore, we have to learn how to do it again from that very source. It says in the Torah how to do it, not in its pshat meaning, but in its sod, secret meaning, the wisdom of Kabbalah. It says how to do it. The wisdom of Kabbalah is the wisdom of connection. That's what it's all about. And because we have to be light onto the nations, this is the plan of the world, that the world can't be connected in a good and nice way between all the nations and countries and continents, and therefore they all hate the people of Israel. That is the reason for anti-Semitism. And the big anti-Semites like Hitler and Henry Ford and others throughout the generations, they wrote about it very explicitly. They knew the origin of their hatred. They felt it. They researched it, and many philosophers and scientists write about it. And one might say that only the Jews don't know and don't want to know about it. They think that because others are envious of them. But it doesn't come from envy. It comes as a result of the nations of the world truly feeling on the inside, and it says so in the book of Zohar, that they feel, and justly, that the world hates us because we do not bring light to the world. The force of the good, the positive force of connection, which is against the force of separation which exists in the world, which dominates it. The force of connection has to make the balance. The plus has to balance the minus, and then both of them have to be in balance between them. And it's not happening, and our whole world is behaving, is managed only by the evil force. And therefore, the Jews are hated for not bringing the force of good to the world.
My question is more about internally within the Jewish people, because there are large sections of the Jewish people who support the BDS, who support various anti-Israel movements, and they're saying that they're not anti-Semites, but that they are anti-Israel, anti-Zionism, anti-policy, whatever, anti the State of Israel's policy. How do you unite those factions when the State of Israel itself is a source of division?
True. The State of Israel, also the Israeli government. Look at our parliament, the Knesset. What an example it is for a terrible, horrible parliament. And we know from history how in the past, specifically in the times of the destruction of the temple, we had the same kind of government. And it's true. Today we're not setting any kind of example for the world. Maybe a bit in technology where our brain is working only technically, disconnected from sociology and society and everything. Therefore, I understand them. I understand their support, that if the country is so bad, bringing hatred to all of the world and bringing hatred upon all of the people of Israel all over the world in the diaspora, then why suffer the Americans, the Europeans, the Jews there? Why are they to blame? If the state of Israel wouldn't set such a bad example, they could live a good and nice life.
So you're saying the Jews overseas are angry or even hate the state of Israel because the state of Israel is a source of disunity, of separation. They feel it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they feel that we're the source for anti-Semitism. In the way we exist, we are the source for anti-Semitism all over the world.
The Jews feel it.
Yes. The American Jews, suppose, for example. But they also don't understand, along with it, that there's no choice, that the state of Israel and the people of Israel have to exist. The people of Israel in the state of Israel, on the land of Israel, on our place here. Only we have to set an example. We have to be an example for everyone, for all nations, how each and every nation has to connect, how each and every nation derives the force of connection from nature, how all the nations connect in a good, nice, integral way between them, where they all become as one nation, actually, as it says, that all shall know me from small to great, and my house shall be called the house of prayer for all nations, and this is our role. And were we to start connecting, the whole world would support us. The whole world would support us, as Yeshayahu the prophet says, that the nations of the world would take the people of Israel on their hands and bring them to Jerusalem, but that's on condition that we ourselves connect. And this exactly was the reason for which the Maccabees fought the Greeks, because it's two methods. It wasn't against the Greeks, it was against the Hellenists among the people of Israel, those people who said, we don't want to connect, we don't want to live the way the people of Israel should be, the way they were established by Abraham, based on love thy friend, thy neighbor as thyself, where all of Israel are friends. But we want to live like the rest of the world, where no one cares about the others, and especially back in those times, because there was the development of technology and trade and industry, even though it was 2,000 years ago. But since then, they started invading all of Europe and spreading all over the world and so on. Ancient Rome started conquering Europe and England, and therefore, they said, we want to be like everyone, like all nations, without understanding that we can't. No matter how much we want it, no matter how much we want to present ourselves like everyone else, we won't be accepted that way. We'll be accepted in one of two. Either where we can't connect and set an example for the world, and then there's nothing to do with us, and we simply have to eradicate this nation, wipe it off the face of the earth, or we connect and set an example for everyone, and then everyone finally understands. Now we understand why we hated them, why we hated the people of Israel, the, quote, people of Israel, end quote, because they weren't connected. That was the reason. And now that they are connected, we understand why we need them, because they have to give us an example of how the world has to be connected, especially in our times, where we're all as one small village in the global world. And therefore, it's very good that the Jews finally understood also why they're called Jews, Yehudim, from the word yichud, unification, why they exist. And now all of us understand what is the code, what is the secret, what is the whole fuss about the people of Israel, such a small nation, and they're making so much problems around the world. And the solution comes from the scrutiny of the war of the Maccabees.
So you're saying
it is an ideological war. Either we realize what we have to realize according to our role, that we exist as a nation among the nations, or we're doomed for eradication.
That's it. You're saying either we are wiped out by the world, or we unite, and then the whole world embraces us.
One of the two.
It seems that today, there are quite a few, say, forces in the world, elements in the world, let's put it this way. So especially you can see it in fundamentalist Islam. They're saying, no, it's too late. We have to wipe out Israel. Nothing good will come out of them. We have to wipe out Israel first, and then the Jews throughout the world. We just need to get rid of them.
It also says about it in the Zohar and in the wisdom of Kabbalah that
yes,
this is
you can
how
see
it will be.
with ISIS, Al-Qaeda, even more moderate Muslims often say things like, I think Abu Mazen said that occupation started when the State of Israel was founded. So the very existence of the State of Israel to him is shouldn't have happened.
Right.
So is this kind of a similar situation to the Greeks versus the Maccabees, or is this a different kind of battle?
No, it's the same kind of war. There is a small part of the people that are in favor of connection, unification, only they don't know how to realize it, but at least they understand that this is the savior of our nation, and not only our nation, but of humanity in general, because that the world will push us into a corner wanting to wipe us out. The world won't correct itself by doing that, because eventually the human species has to be balanced with all of nature. It has to be in an integral connection between all its parts, as the image of a single person. And it won't stop there. The world won't come to tranquility as a result, and therefore the fight against the Jews, meaning those that want the unification, will not bring the world any peace and wholeness and perfection, and therefore we have to explain that. Our problem is that we're not dependent on any nation in order to connect. We depend only on ourselves, within ourselves, the people of Israel. We don't need any kind of help of any sort. We're the people of Israel to understand their mission, their path, their only savior. If we were to realize it just a bit, come a bit closer, Jews, let's come a bit closer to each other, to be a bit more connected, a bit more unified. Let's understand what's happening to us. What are the forces that are working on us and leading us through history? Let's reach a state where we will be as one man and one heart, as one nation, all of Israel are friends, and love thy neighbor as thyself, and mutual responsibility, not doing to the others what you hate. Let's just a bit, 1%, start realizing it between us. This is actually what the Maccabees wanted. This is what they wanted to do for the separated nation, which was separated back then. Let's come 1 millimeter closer to each other, and then we'll see how the whole world is calming down. No ISIS, no terror, no problems on our borders, no anti-Semitism in America and other countries. Everyone's coming to tranquility, sympathy towards Israel, understanding that wholeness, perfection, and peace, which they achieve, is specifically because Israel is carrying out its role now.
So maybe as concluding words, how do you see a modern day Hanukkah miracle happening?
It really is a miracle. When Jews start connecting with each other, when they start understanding that their mission is to connect, that they're not only responsible for themselves but for the whole world, and nature's plan that's leading us for the past 2,000 years has to be realized one way or another. We're going to battle now, and the battle is against our enemy, the Greeks inside us that want to separate us. Let's, despite that, start feeling each other a bit more, smiling, connecting, becoming more more interdependent. Let's make it a bit more important in our thoughts, and then I'm sure that we will see the good life, a good world, security, prosperity. May we all succeed, and happy Hanukkah, a holiday of light, and may we see it in our lifetime. Happy holiday.
Thank you very much, Dr. Laitman. Thank you, and may we all really see the light and put unity above our heads this Hanukkah and from here on. Thank you very much, and until the next time, bye.